And I'll just be very frank. I think maybe we were a little too greedy. Oh, if you're inventing that on IU space, we own it. And my attitude is now, if you're the faculty that discovers something, we'll help you, and we certainly want to have a stake in it. But you need to make a lot of money on it too, because it was yours, right? And so to be much more realistic and open to everybody winning in this kind of situation.
Welcome to Innovate or Evaporate, the podcast where we explore the relentless pace of change and the innovators who drive it. Each episode, we dive deep into cutting-edge ideas, breakthrough technologies, and the fearless pioneers reshaping our world. Today, we're honored to have President Pam Whitten of Indiana University with us. In this episode, she shares her insights on reimagining the modern university and building the future through collaboration, innovation, and inclusivity. If you're ready to be inspired, challenged, and equipped to navigate the future, stay tuned, because it's Innovate or Evaporate.
Welcome back to Innovate or Evaporate. I'm your host, Christopher Day, and now that we're friends, feel free to call me Toph. And I am so excited today to have President Pam Whitten of Indiana University with us. President Whitten is a trailblazer in higher education with a passion for innovation, student success, and transformative leadership. With a distinguished career spanning technology, life sciences, academia, she brings a fresh perspective to IU's rich tradition. Before leading IU, she served as president of Kennesaw State University, where she set new records for student enrollment and graduation rates. She also held leadership roles as senior vice president for academic affairs and provost at the University of Georgia and dean of Michigan State University's College of Communication Arts and Sciences. Pam, I'm allowed to call you Pam, right?
Please
today?
Call me Pam.
Okay. Thank you so much for coming to Innovate or Evaporate today. We could not be more excited.
Well, thank you. Thank you.
So I know the one thing that's burning on all of our listeners' minds is Coach Cignetti and the success that you had in the football season, the collegiate football season that just ended. You were in the college playoffs. Can you share with us a little bit? And by the way, I think he was the first coach ever in D1 to go back-to-back 10-0 starts at James Madison, right?
JMU.
And then at Indiana University. Can you share a little bit how that came about?
Yeah, I can. It's funny. It certainly was a wonderful, magical season for Indiana University in football, and a lot of people congratulate us as if it were an overnight miracle, and that is not the case. As with anything really wonderful and meaningful that happens, and so when I came to Indiana University, I was tasked with implementing a lot of change across the institution, and certainly part of my job was to lean into college athletics, and fortunately that's an interest of mine, and I have some experience in it. And so when I came, the first thing I did was realize in about 5 minutes that we had a terrific athletic director in Scott Dolson. And so I was very pleased to have a partner like Scott to work with. A lot of integrity, knows his stuff, and is ambitious for Indiana University athletics. And so in our first conversations, I said to Scott, if we're realistic about college sports, 60 to 70% of all revenue comes from football. So we can't just let it be a secondary activity at Indiana University. We got to get serious about it.
That's a massive number, 60, 70%.
It's massive. Now, we love basketball, and we're very ambitious for what we're going to be in basketball. Never lose sight of that. But you can't just write off football.
Right.
And so I think his first response was, really, Pam? I can get aggressive in this. And so we started raising a lot of money. We started thinking about the areas that we needed to invest in to be competitive. We went out and recruited Coach Sig. He fit the profile of the type of coach we wanted, which was someone who had a long track record of winning and recognized the role of performance over potential, often in players as well, and brought Sig here. And it's the beginning of a new day. And I tell everybody, get ready and get used to it. We're going to be competitive from here on out, or at least we've got Sig signed for another 8 years. So we got 8 years that I'm very confident we will be very, very competitive in.
It's so exciting. So I went to the IU game when you played Ohio State. I went to that game. And then what was the other one I came down for? Well, maybe it was when you played Purdue this year, came down for that. And
I'm sorry, what was that score? Can you tell us the Purdue score? Do you remember? I think maybe it was 66 to nothing. I think that was that. Something like that. Yeah,
something like that. But it was the whole scene was so vibrant. Mm-hmm. The stands, everybody was so excited. It was really quite amazing. So I read somewhere that you are a telemedicine specialist and have like a couple of hundred peer-reviewed articles. Is that right? Tell us a little bit about that. And is that kind of predates you coming into academia? Is that right?
It really marks my entry into academia. And so when I went back to school to get a PhD, I went to undergrad at Tulane. I got a master's at Kentucky, went out and worked for a while, had a couple of kids. Then when I was 30, dragged my family to Lawrence, Kansas and got a PhD. And was interested in technology and health and what could that be. And I found this fledgling thing. This was in the early to mid-90s called telemedicine. There were only 4 programs at the time, and began to really study how do we use technology to bring healthcare services to people. And then very quickly was offered a job at the med school to start and run the telemedicine program for Kansas. Eventually moved to Michigan State, where I was a regular old college professor for many years. Best job in America. It's so much fun. And I did a lot of grant-funded research for many years, looking at health and cost outcomes and delivery issues related to taking these innovations and putting them in healthcare settings and seeing how we could impact healthcare.
That's amazing. I don't think I have 200 of anything. That's
I'm
amazing.
sure you have 200 fans out there listening.
Let's hope we turn that into 2 million. Maybe we'll do that after today's podcast. We'll get this to 2 million. So in 2021, you became the 19th president of Indiana University, the first female president, right, at IU. Mm-hmm. And IU is the largest medical school in the world, or at least in the country. Largest medical school in the country. So maybe before we jump into a bunch of fun things here about IU, talk to us about how did you get recruited? Where the interest level to come to IU? Where'd that come from? Like, how did that opportunity kind of present itself?
So much of life is planned and so much of it's serendipity.
Yep.
And certainly when I was a little girl, I didn't say, hey, Mom, I want to be a university president when I grew up, right? Frankly, there weren't university presidents when I was a little girl that were women, at that time. And so the way my career worked, as I've mentioned, I had time on faculty at a medical school, right, at the University of Kansas. And then I spent many years as a faculty member at Michigan State. So an AAU, land-grant institution in the state of Michigan. And then eventually actually was a dean there as well. Then I went to Georgia, to the flagship, and I was the provost, number 2 at the University of Georgia, and then became president at Kennesaw State, a large urban research university. Mm-hmm. And then the opportunity for Indiana University came, and to me, it was a dream job. I mean, everyone knows how wonderful IU is, right? But what a lot of people don't understand is what a complicated, complex institution it is, right? Most people think of a single campus when they think of a university. IU is one of the biggest universities in the country. We certainly have our flagship, beautiful AAU campus in Bloomington, right?
It's gorgeous.
Gorgeous and fantastic school, right? We have our now urban research university, that's IU Indianapolis, that we transformed in Indianapolis, right? Yep. We have the largest medical school in the country, as you referenced. We have 5 wonderful regional campuses and 2 sub-regional campuses. And though an accident, I do think having the experience at an AAU institution, at a medical school, at an urban university.
That's interesting.
It was an interesting combination of all that Indiana University is. And it's been so helpful to have had all those experiences in this job.
Yeah, it all dovetails perfectly.
It does.
Right?
It does.
It's all in one. So, all right. Well, so let's dive into a little bit of, you have a vision for IU 2030, and thinking about the strategic growth for IU. And so let's talk about that a little bit, maybe about some of the largest transformative initiatives that you're thinking about in terms of the future of Indiana University and its growth.
So let me rewind a little bit and just talk about IU 2030. And so when I came and I started, and we were doing what any new president does at a university, right? In partnership with your trustees, and that is, what's our vision? What's our strategic plan for where we want to be? And we were very inclusive in bringing a lot of people into that conversation, and very quickly realized we didn't want a typical university strategic plan. We didn't want a 200-page document that included every single person and every single thing we could ever do, and then we put it on a shelf for 5 to 10 years, and then we pulled it out at the end, and we had accidentally accomplished some things. We decided we wanted something very pragmatic that was going to be a roadmap for the specific things we wanted to do. And so we said, well, what are we here to do? And it was very clear. There's 3 things we're here to do. And so we have 3 pillars. And the first one is, always about students. So it's student success, front and foremost. And we're very proud and almost liberated in our ability to say, hey guys, we're here for students. And all that we do, we need to be considering students in every decision that we make. And so the strategic plan related to students looks at very pragmatic things, right? Are we able to facilitate students' retention, right? So that they make it from freshman to sophomore year. Do we improve, enhance, or facilitate their ability to graduate in a timely way, right? Do we create those types of experiences they need inside the classroom and outside the classroom so they're ready for what's next, right? Do we do those things so that everybody knows an IU grad, right? Because the experience they have sets them apart from people who are unfortunate enough to have to graduate from other universities, right, across the U.S., right? So first and foremost, that's our first pillar. The second pillar is research and discovery and creative activity. That's also why we're here. We're supposed to figure out the big thorny issues and problems, right? And we're supposed to create and discover wonderful things. And so that is everything from new drugs and treatments, from healthcare to, best practices in terms of, finance and accounting from our wonderful Kelly School to extraordinary creative things that are created in the Jacobs School of Music at the institution as well. And part of that means recognizing that you need external folks to validate the research you want to do by paying for the research that you want to do. And so that means that you get much more aggressive in strategic decision-making about research initiatives you're going to invest in and funding you're going to pursue. And so we have, in the last 3.5 years, increased our funding by 28%, our grant funding at the university. And so we're closing in on $1 billion in terms of research at Indiana University, in terms of our expenditures in very important sectors and segments, everything from microelectronics and partnerships that we are expanding with things like Crane to what you'll see in the med school and sciences, area of sciences as well. And then our third pillar, and this is one that I was interested to see what the reaction would be across our campuses and was so pleased at how everyone embraced it. And first and foremost, I want to recognize that IU is an international university. It's a global university. We come from all over the place. We want people from all over the world to come to us. We have impact and outreach everywhere, and that will continue, right? I mean, we teach more foreign languages than anybody else, I think, in the whole country. And we want that international reach to continue, and we will prioritize that. But we also want to recognize that Indiana University is the flagship university for the state of Indiana. And when you're the flagship university, that means you have a responsibility to make your state a better place for people to live as well. And so that
I like to think of as the innovation capital of the world.
Innovation capital of the world. I would agree. And as we'll talk about, that's a big priority for what we're doing, right? And so that means that it is on us to play a big role in economic development, right? To make sure that we have our training students for the jobs that we need today and tomorrow in Indiana, that we play a role in retaining business here and recruiting business here, in facilitating, startup, amongst our own students and faculty. It means leaning into health outcomes for the state and, trying to make Hoosiers a healthier place. It also means impacting the culture of the state, right? And I include sports in the culture. So we come back around again to, we elevated the cultural status of the state of Indiana with our football season this year.
I love it. It was awesome. I mean, people were talking about that.
Still are.
For sure nationally, if not globally.
Mm-hmm. That's right.
That's awesome. I love it. So 3 pillars, students, R&D, and the flagship for Indiana, right? And so I want to go back and dive into these more. These are very exciting. Before we do that, I want to, IU Health. So IU Health and Indiana University, those are 2 totally separate entities. Is that correct?
That is correct.
And so can you talk just a little bit high level? Because IU Health is, and maybe we should have Dennis come on here now that I think about it, but they're building an incredible expansion right here in Indianapolis, and maybe they may have plans elsewhere as well. Do you work with IU Health from an R&D standpoint, from a partnership standpoint? Kind of how does that relationship work?
Absolutely. So you're correct. IU Health and Indiana University are separate entities, separate boards. Nothing crosses over between the two. But we are strong partners in a lot of areas, and we work very closely in many places. And so IU Health, for example, invests pretty significantly in Indiana University's, particularly our School of Medicine, in opportunities for research and development, certainly in specific disease areas, sometimes in various areas of clinical practice as well. Obviously we have a large number of medical students and residents and fellows and others that are trained at IU Health facilities all over the state as well, and they're just a terrific partner in that space. Sometimes in their wisdom, they invest in other aspects of health with us. And so a few years ago, they gave the university a $16 million grant to increase the number of nursing students in Indianapolis by 50%. And that
I remember that because there's a massive nursing shortage,
absolutely. Right? And to our credit, we were supposed to have reached that goal by fall of 25. We actually achieved that goal by this last fall of 24 in terms of the numbers we had set. But again, another example of a good partnership with IU Health, and I think their wisdom in investing in things that will improve health for Indiana as well.
Are there one or two conditions that kind of stick out to you that there's a big focus on trying to go much deeper on research and development? From a research and development like cancer, or are there any things that IU Health is particularly interested in that you're trying to get your team to go deeper on with R&D?
I think there's a lot of overlap in the areas we do. I think it's easier for me, frankly, to discuss it from the perspective of the priorities of IU School of Medicine and IU. And there are a number of areas where we're exceptionally strong. It's a really good med school, both in terms of training future physicians, but also in terms of the research that emanates from the School of Medicine. And one example where we're just world class is Alzheimer's. And aspects of neurology and dementia just were fantastic.
So not to cut you off on that, but so Alzheimer's.
Yeah.
So some of the greatest breakthroughs originated. Is that correct? At
Absolutely.
IU? And who was that? Was that Richard DeMarchi?
Well, that's a different area of research. Okay. Well, I'll mention that one in a second, but this is different. No, this is Dr. Lamb. It's a whole team of people.
Got it.
And there's a broad range of research they're doing in this area, but it's phenomenal. And they have made some breakthroughs, and they're on the verge of some tremendous breakthroughs. And we have quite significant external funding from NIH and others in that particular area. As a matter of fact, it got a little bit of attention in the city because Bill Gates came to look at our Alzheimer's research.
Right.
Not too long ago.
Right?
Mm-hmm. Because it's that good. There are aspects, certainly of cancer research, that are very strong, and these are in alignment with IU Health and the things they want to do as well. But are driven by the researchers in the School of Medicine, right? That come in, and often are clinicians that also practice at IU Health, but are also often just full-time researchers that come in this area. You mentioned Richard DeMarchi. Oh my goodness, what a special human being in so many ways. And so Dr. DeMarchi was amongst the first to recognize decades ago the science behind what we all know as the multiple weight loss drugs that are used and how it would work, right? And so his work in those and other areas, and including diabetes, have led to multiple spinoff companies and drug treatments that are out there as well. And he's a part of the science faculty in the Bloomington campus as well. So a large array. I use really terrific at health-related, biomedical-related research and discovery that's going on. And as I'm sure we'll get to in a few minutes, we are flexing our wings because we're ambitious for this benefit to extend beyond accomplishments from IU and be something that's really from the entire state of Indiana.
I love it. So since we're on that pillar of R&D, let's just keep going a little bit deeper into that. So how do you choose these things? Is it the faculty, the scientists? Is it kind of driven by their skill sets, or is this something that you get involved in? At the executive level and looking at the landscape of what's available. At the trustee level. How is it like? How do you pick and choose where you go deeper in that?
So it's a combination of all of those things. First and foremost, it's about tremendous faculty. It really is. It's about the theorists and the scientists and the those with creativity that do discovery in those areas. Remember, we have people doing extraordinary research in education, right, and social work, and I mean it's all kinds of fields across our institution. Informatics is really quite impressive. The AI work is stunning that's coming out of Indiana University now as well. So it's a very broad array of things happening. But it always comes down to the individual faculty member or members that are doing this work, right? Their intelligence, their creativity, their ambition, their own innovation in terms of ideas. And then we do our best to create an infrastructure, an ecosystem that fosters their ability to go out and do this discovery as well. But at the same time, in a parallel track, there's work that goes on at the executive level in terms of setting kind of strategic a vision for what we're going to invest in, right? And so a couple of years ago, we made an announcement that as an institution, we were going to invest about $111 million in microelectronics. And that is work and research and faculty and facilities related to chips, right? And the semiconductor industry, right? And since
the new Federal Tech Hub is down in that area, right?
That's right.
Near Bloomington.
That's exactly right.
Yeah.
And an intentional desire to support Crane, right? And because Crane's fantastic with the work they have going on as well there. We also made a commitment to spend $250 million in biohealth sciences, right? And there's multiple faculty and area, and we've started several institutes in this area, moving forward as well. There'll be new degrees that you'll see coming from IU related to health and particularly biotechnology and health as well. And so it's a combination of the two. And then once we've made some of those strategic visions, and then I go to the trustees and basically say, you guys good with this, and get their input. So, and then they provide feedback and kind of approve the larger vision as well. So it's really comes from, individual faculty to, school or college level to campus level to president level to trustees. All are kind of involved in the package.
So you mentioned a moment ago what I think is so fascinating, this idea of cross-sector. And, as we're doing research today, as we're trying to launch businesses, I want to kind of move into like the convergence of so you have an incredible informatics school. Mm-hmm. The business school is incredible. You mentioned the music school, and I want to touch on that for a second too, because a lot of the most creatives, thinking about product development, those types of things, the creatives are some of the best folks at doing that kind of stuff because your brain just works differently, right? Very different than the business side and the creative side. And so you have this convergence of medical and business and AI informatics, the music school. How do you think about that, and how can you leverage, you think about higher ed of the future and like leveraging all these different disciplines in a way to help maybe even the commercialization of IP? How do you think about that? Kind of how the convergence of all these different studies and then ultimately maybe how that changes, how things are commercialized?
So it winds back to the, believe it or not, kind of financial structure or incentives across an institution and budget models that you use. And so I think this is the part of the podcast where everybody will get up and go get something to drink, right? Because I'm talking about something that's a dry subject, but extraordinarily important when you think about large organizations that have operated in very traditional ways and how we transition ourselves to be more nimble, right, and to be more innovative. And so one of the things that has been the case at Indiana University is for many decades we've used a budget model that is extraordinarily decentralized to a point where it's a disincentive for people to come together and work, because the way you would generate your own budget at a local level meant that you might need to get resources instead of somebody else getting the resources, right? And so we are in a 5-year process right now at the university. It's an extraordinary lift. We have some very talented people doing it. It's hard, as you can imagine, and it includes a lot of change. And we are like everyone. People look askance sometimes at change as they participate in it, but it has to happen at our institution. And so we're in the middle of this now. And the reason I tell you this is that this kind of old-fashioned budget model that was the case, and by the way, other schools had it and got rid of it years ago, and so we were a little bit behind the curve in doing it. But the reason it's so important is that fortunately or unfortunately, it can drive culture, and it can drive the ease in which, to your point of your question, people can come together seamlessly and work in ways that's either new curriculum, new opportunities for students, discovering new things, right? Or even coming together to commercialize things in new ways. And so that is all in process right now. And we're already beginning to see the shift in the ways people are coming forward. And even initiatives we're driving. So in Bloomington, for example, we have an initiative called Faculty 100. And it's a special hiring initiative for 100 faculty in strategic, innovative areas that we've identified. Now, we're still hiring other faculty, right? As people retire, or you need someone to teach a certain class. That still happens. But this is a special hiring initiative. But the requirement in this hiring initiative is that they cross departments, so they cross disciplines. So it's not the old-fashioned person who sits in their own department and never collaborates or necessarily works with people across areas. It's going amazingly well. And I think one of the greatest things about it for us has been people from all over the country want to come to IU. They want to come to Indiana and they want to come to IU. I mean, extraordinary people.
I heard that your website went off the charts in new hits with the football season. I can't remember who told me that, but somebody was telling me.
I would not. Why would it not?
Yeah, right.
As well. So there's all kinds of new things happening that are driving exactly what you're asking or talking about. But we got to do big shifts. We got to turn this aircraft carrier, to enable us to be the university we should be.
So then, dovetailing on that, so Bloomington itself has quite an innovation ecosystem, right? You've got the mill down there, and I think there's a new facility that just recently opened. How do you, and I know you lean into working with some of these in the partnerships, that are outside of the university. Anything come to mind there that you want to share on how you're rethinking how you engage with third-party, innovative partners to help commercialize, or students starting companies, et cetera?
Yeah, I'll give a couple examples. So first of all, Bloomington is a fantastic college town, as anyone knows who's been there. It's a lot of fun and there's great things. It has had some challenges in terms of population decline and wage decline. There's some great leadership. John Fernandez really comes to mind. He wrote a wonderful op-ed not too long ago about, come on, people, let's go. Let's step it up. And we view part of our role as the university there as being a very significant partner in that development that needs to go on. And so the Lilly Endowment was kind enough to give us a grant through Indiana University a couple months ago, $16 million grant that is all about developmental work with the trades district and others.
That's
to
amazing.
Literally do investment in startup, and the university and the city of Bloomington are coming together to make that happen. And I think it's the largest investment or grant the university's ever brought to the city to really make a statement that we think it's our job to make Bloomington a wonderful place.
Yeah, that's amazing. And isn't there's a quantum corridor that's developing, right? Is that right? From Crane kind of up through Bloomington and ultimately goes all the way to Chicago and beyond, I believe.
Our goal is Crane to Bloomington to Indy for now. That's
okay,
what we're
gotcha.
building.
So first step, phase one, Crane to Bloomington to Indy. That's so exciting. Can you imagine the impact of quantum computing? Number one, largest medical school in the country, like all the assets and the things that you're working on. And once that comes to fruition, just the exponential opportunity and growth is
absolutely
is amazing.
We can see it already. That's
awesome. You're going to turn Indiana into the biotech capital of the world.
That's the goal.
I love it. So, okay, so let's hit on students. So we kind of touched on commercialization of IP, et cetera. So students, I can't imagine, Pam, what it's like running a university that like you run. The world's moving so fast. You have this proliferation of all these new AI tools. Back in the day, somebody used to make these things called Lumascapes for marketing tech, and there were 8,000 marketing tech companies, I think it was, on this thing, and you just can't make any sense of it. And now, literally we used to hear about AI for 5, 6, 7 years, and it was kind of almost like a buzzword.
Mm-hmm.
Now it's real, and so it feels like just the last 9 months, it has just hit an exponential curve. So when it comes to students, and you think about all these modern technology tools, you think about AI tools, how they learn, how they would, the ones that want to start businesses, what are some of the things that you're thinking about with the students and how their learning path will start to morph or change What does that look like?
So there's a range of things, and it's funny when we talk about AI and we talk about students in universities. There's really two parallel paths to talk about. So the first one, I think, leans into the way you phrase your question, which is, how does AI impact the experience for the student? How they learn, how they go to school, right? How assignments are done, et cetera. And it was kind of funny when ChatGPT blew up, whenever it was, 9 months ago, a year ago, whatever. And everybody, it was all over all the, the kind of media that old people like us look at, right? And we're just like, oh my gosh, what's this going to mean for our students? And our students are laughing. And they're like, we've been using this stuff for years, right? I mean, you're so far behind us. And it's not about, am I going someplace to have it write a paper for me anymore? They're like, that's silly. That's the easy part. It's about, is it generating my thesis for me? So I don't even have to come up with the idea, right? For something I want to solve, et cetera. And so those are the kind of things you got to wrestle with, right? For students. And you have to think about that from the perspective of not being threatened by how they learn, but how are they going to work moving ahead? And maybe if the very nature of how they work changes, then we have to be, a little bit more liberal in our perception of what's okay and what's not okay as they're actually learning. So there's a lot of work going on in that space right now. And frankly, great variability across, within a university by faculty, right? Because some faculty are set in teaching in certain ways, and others are like, wow, give me something new. I want, every day I want a new way to do it with my students as well. And so it's up to us to provide the kind of professional development for faculty to understand what's even out there for them and how they can even make things better for their students. Now, that's the learning side. The other side is just the experience for students. So I don't know if you remember when you went to college, but part of what happened was just signing up for classes, right? Or figuring out what your schedule should be, right? Or optimizing the experience. It's pain at a big university, right? And I wish I could tell you we have it perfect in universities. Not yet, right? But suddenly we're looking at these tools, these AI tools, as a way to leapfrog over multiple generations of making it easier to be a college student in the organization or to be a faculty or staff member. And so we're looking at exciting new tools to address those things, right? And, down the road, maybe a partner to a live advisor is going to just be a great system that tests you, plays with you, maps out your, all the different paths you could take in school and experiences, et cetera. And that's going to wildly change things for everybody in a very positive way. So that's one path, one part of your question that I referred to, right, is the side of the student experience or what's going on in the university. The other side in universities is just all the amazing work and research and discovery about AI tools and solutions, right?
Yes.
And those, I want to say faculty are driving, but do not underestimate the role students are playing. If we go look at the Luddy School of Informatics and you go in those labs, you will find more young adults than older adults participating with their faculty, but generating ideas for AI solutions for all kinds of applications as well. And that's kind of going on hand in hand. I learn this way, but I'm also discovering and making things for the future this way as well. And all of that is part of the higher ed ecosystem right now.
I love it. That's fascinating. I was talking to a chief scientist I used to work with, and ChatGPT has this new product they released, O3. And back in the day, it used to be, so these algorithms, this math has been around for centuries, literally. And the reason we couldn't use it was we didn't have the computational power, the database structures, and then you have the people who understand the math, which we've always had the people that understand the math. But it was the computational power, the database structures. And so this O3, if you're trying to solve like some really like novel, difficult problem that requires pieces and parts of multiple algorithms, it might be 30 different algorithms, and you got to pull pieces and parts. This O3 can now, the early stages of reasoning. And so, I want to figure out a better way to make this ink pen or whatever, make the ink more blue, whatever it is, that literally this O3 will start to go, it's like, okay, you want to make ink more blue? So we're going to pull this piece from here. So it goes and pulls these pieces and parts, pulls these computations together. We'll start to run them and then realize, that one's not the right one. I'm going to throw that back on the shelf and I'm going to grab this other one. That's insane, right? And you think about like learning. And so I think you still have to have people who understand mathematics, But now you think about like a machine learning engineer, let's say,
Mm-hmm.
can may not be the quite depth of level of understanding of math, but they can definitely operate a model, O3 model, that's doing reasoning. And so you just think the aperture opens for so many more people to be able to experiment and solve
Absolutely.
crazy new problems.
Well, and think about what was the key in all of that spiel you just said? It was the first question: how do we make the ink more blue in my ink pen? Right.
Yeah.
And so for all of us to have the power to generate something that really could make such a difference, right? A real question that matters, and now really have a way to maybe get at an answer. It's wonderful.
It's just fascinating. You think about regenerative medicine,
Mm-hmm,
right? Going back to
mm-hmm.
medical school. So, okay. So then, another question I have on students then, anything, I know there are students that are leaning into, in Bloomington and with IU, there are, I mean, you're getting into pitch competitions where students, and maybe these aren't hosted, maybe some of them are, or some of them aren't. But there's a real push for start your business,
Mm-hmm.
which I find so exciting, especially with what we do. We want to be right there,
Mm-hmm.
right, giving funding where it's needed, or making investments where it's needed. But some of that intentional outreach with encouraging, students to go ahead and start that business. And here's these local partners. And I think you may have historically and may more in the future, even making some investments to help, businesses that either students or alumni from IU. Anything you want to share with that? How you're rethinking?
We are,
yes.
Thank you for asking that. We're getting so much more aggressive, and again, in the spirit of full transparency, we've had pockets across IU in the past of opportunities to identify a good idea by an alum or student and secure investment, or a pocket of a program maybe in Luddy or in Kelly where something we might be able to provide support, particularly to a student. We didn't have the ecosystem we should. Not at a school like IU, not at a school with, frankly, the just crazy talent of students, particularly students, but in faculty that we have. So a little over a year ago, maybe close to a year and a half ago, we launched a new initiative called IU Innovates. First location we launched was in Bloomington. It's in the old Von Lee Theater on Kirkwood, if people know where that is. And we hired Julie Heath, who used to work in the city, right, ADC, with entrepreneurial activities. And we said, we want to create the space, but more than that, the ecosystem, the program, particularly for students, but faculty and staff as well, for anybody that's got a great startup. So we wrap them with all the services and the different disciplines they need to eventually start that business, right? And so we were lucky to have a couple people want to give some nice gifts to the university to get it started, as well as some investment we made. We thought in the first year we'd have 40 or 50 students that qualified for it. I think by this fall we had 154 students participating formally with the full wraparound service, participating in the space. I know it's probably going to be a couple hundred pretty soon. It's just taken off, and it's wonderful. We're going to be doing it for all of IU, about to come to Indy next, as well as all of our regionals and the med school. And it is part of what we're striving to move toward, which is, you want to do something, you have an idea to launch something, and we're going to make it happen. We're also trying
That's so exciting.
Well, it's our goodness, our students deserve it. I mean, what they're coming up with and their ambition is amazing. We also want to make it easier for faculty. So in the past, I think we made it a little too hard for faculty who wanted to approach us. And I'll just be very frank. I think maybe we were a little too greedy. Like, oh, if you're inventing that on IU space, we own it. And my attitude is now, if you're the faculty that discovers something, we'll help you, and we certainly want to have a stake in it. But you need to make a lot of money on it too, because it was yours, right? And so to be much more realistic and open to everybody winning in this kind of situation. So we have a really good vice president of research, Russ Mumper, who joined us a couple of years ago. He has built a team of people related to commercialization that are, I think, moving us to the next tier.
That's incredible. So how about policy? So we are home to Strata and Lumina, which I believe are two big forces in higher education. But how do you think about universities and helping shape either at the state level or even the federal level? Is there any impact that universities play a role in with helping to shape policy making at either the local, state, or federal level that come to mind, or things that maybe IU's working on today that that you're able to talk about?
Well, we live in interesting times, right now. So I think we're all kind of watching the pace of change without judgment, watching to see what's going to happen. But I think we have a long history of, faculty with expertise in certain areas that have participated in being willing to certainly to serve the state, just to bring knowledge or expertise as people are making decisions. That's happened at the federal level as well. There's so many examples I could give you. Denny Spinner runs our Center for Rural Engagement, and just fantastic the work he's doing. Some of the outreach that's going on, and the opportunity to come back and talk about unique needs in rural Indiana, right, and potential implications for that. You'll see people in the School of Education. Who, as appropriate, will come with the latest research in certain areas. I mean, it's really all over the institution. There's probably no piece that's not touched as well. And so it's certainly part of what any good university does, is we make ourselves available to help.
Yep. What about any other growth plans that we haven't covered yet? Major initiatives, and as you think about, I know you're thinking about way past 2030, but did we cover off? Were there any other topics around strategy that I didn't ask you about?
I do think it's worth mentioning the IU Lab that was just announced.
Yes, very exciting.
It's very exciting.
How did I forget that, Pam?
I don't know, but thank you for letting me prompt you. So Lilly Endowment, so generous and gracious with $138 million award to the university, and we're very appreciative for the excitement that they have with this vision, but also the confidence they have in the role Indiana University will play in bringing together so many partners. That's game changer, right?
Yes.
I mean, this is a space.
That was $138 million. $38 million, yeah.
But this is a space in place that will be from top to bottom. It will be space that has students in it, and faculty and labs and classrooms. In the same space, we'll have our partners at IBRI, CICP, Lilly, as a company, IU Health, and others. Right. We also will be bringing in faculty and other founders for things that want to invent things, all coming in the same space and working together. Right. You'll move into
collaboration on steroids.
Absolutely, but all the way to space even for clinical testing, in vitro and vivo clinical testing. So you're commercialized, right? So when you're done, and I always say we want everybody to graduate from IU. So when you're done through this, then you go buy a big building, because you are now a new company in the city of Indianapolis. And we're very serious. When people think about what is the city in the United States that's the lead for innovative biohealth, biotech solutions, it's Indianapolis. That's what everybody thinks of. We have all the ingredients. We have great pharmaceuticals and companies, right? We have a great health system and health education infrastructure. We got, as we've talked about, the medical school. We got the spaces and the places. We've got, public officials and private partners that are really ambitious to see this grow. It's here. So now we'll build it, and we'll blow it up with wonderful things. And I think within a decade, everyone's going to point to Indy as kind of the center of the country for this type of activity.
And you brought in David Rosenberg's the new CEO.
He's the new CEO
of that lab.
Yeah.
So what's really interesting is, we have the greatest talent. Well, we're equal to anybody else with talent, right?
Absolutely.
I'd say we have the greatest talent. And then you think about all the other components of the ecosystem: lifestyle, cost of living, right? Access to resources, the lab space, the cost of lab space, here and what you're building versus other markets. There's really no comparison. It's very expensive in other markets. And so let's talk a little bit more about Indianapolis and your plans. Right, we had the recent split with Purdue and IU, and which I think is just going to be amazing with both universities. Just you think about all the green shoots and just growing even faster, right? Continue to partner, but being able to grow faster. And so talk to us about Indianapolis as a whole. You brought on a chancellor here, right? So maybe talk to us a little bit about that.
So it's been terrific, and I want to give a shout out to Purdue as our partners as we disentangled ourselves from IUPUI, right, and created formerly IU Indianapolis, and Purdue. There's a space on the campus that we're leasing to Purdue for 100 years, and they're going to put a facility, and we are very supportive. We want that to be very successful, and we're here to support their students as well because it's good for the city. It's good for Indiana. And I will say there's one Saturday in the fall and then a couple of days during the school year where I cannot stand Purdue. Otherwise, I'm very proud to have Purdue in our state. We're actually very fortunate in Indiana. We have 3 AAU universities, right? We have Notre Dame, Purdue, and Indiana University. A state our size with our population, that is a wealth of prestigious research universities, frankly, as well. So here we go. We've got IU Indianapolis. We took over most of it, right? I mean, it was our campus that we owned, as well. We took over all the sciences, which before had been Purdue degrees, and have made some shifts to align it really with the goals of health and biohealth, as well, and launched some fun programs. We quickly out of the gate started a program for automatic direct admission into the med school. If you came into the School of Science, you have to make grades still. But it was 20 spots. We did it like in 5 minutes. I think we had 120 apps in the first year for those 20 spots. This year already I think we're up to 360 applications. I think we've upped it to 25 spots, but we need doctors in Indiana. So this is a wonderful thing, right? And so there's a range of things new things we're seeing in the sciences. We started a new computer science program and degree ourselves. Purdue is still having one, but we started a new department. We saw very significant growth. We had more people this year in our computer science. I used computer science incoming class than there were when it was Purdue's, when it was IUPUI. And you add to that Purdue, I bet's got computer science majors as well. That means it's such a net gain for the city of Indianapolis. And so there's a broad array of just tremendous things happening. We're about to break ground on what we affectionately call the gym, right? The James T. Morris Arena on campus. General Assembly was kind enough to fund that for the city. And we'll be breaking ground in about 2 weeks. And we're going to have a full arena on our campus, certainly for sports. We play Division I sports at IU Indianapolis. My dream...
How big will that arena be?
About 4,500, 5,000 seats. We want everybody to use it. Track and field will be partnering with us and it as a participant, but we want everybody to use it. We want all kinds of events. We want a lot of the Olympic sports to have national competitions there. We want concerts there. Yeah. We want academic activities. I want orientations and recruiting to happen there. I mean, this is what a full-blown university has as well.
That's amazing. Well, there is no doubt you have been very innovative since you've been there for the last 3 years. You took the helm.
3.5.
3.5. Well, we have arrived at the moment for rapid fire questions. Are you ready for this?
I'm ready.
So now this just can be short. First thing that comes to mind, or just say pass. It's all good either way. All right. So here we go. 4 rapid fire questions. What is one thing in your industry that you think people should stop doing?
I think, and we'll assume my industry is higher education.
Right.
Although, as we've talked about today, that means so many things, right?
This is true.
To different people. This might not be a super popular answer, so let's decide if we're going to keep this in to your final podcast. I think we got to quit living in the past in higher education. I think there's wonderful traditional things that we want to keep in terms of why higher education exists, but I think that we cannot expect to always do things the way we did them, and stay relevant. Yeah,
that's powerful. How about so what's one thing or a process or a habit that you think leads to the best ability to disrupt or innovate?
So this answer is going to sound illogical, but I think the best opportunity you have to be successful in truly important disruption is incredible preparation. I think you got to know your stuff. I think you have to know who you are, what the external environment is, where you want to be. You got to be ready. And then I think you can move forward in exciting ways.
I love that. Just as a quick aside, before you came in today, Matt Tyner on our team and I were talking about that. We went really deep on that very subject. I love that. If you could solve one problem in the world with innovation that could transform our lives, what would it be?
So I think I'm going to go simple on this because obviously I would love to solve world peace or eliminate health disparities in the world. But I'm going to go with a simpler answer because it's something that concerns me so much on an everyday basis. And that is figuring out how we make college affordable for everyone.
That's a big one. I love that. That's a big one. Okay, here we go. Last item. What is one thing that you want to share that you're passionate about that we may not have covered today? Or did I do such an amazing job going deep that there's nothing else we didn't cover?
You did a pretty amazing job. You know what? I would just add, my husband and I moved here in July of 21, and we've just come to love the state of Indiana. And I think sometimes we don't take a breath sometimes and all admit that we got our challenges, we have our problems like every place does, but this is a pretty phenomenal place to have the good fortune to live. People are good to each other. We have great universities. We have great sports. We have an affordable lifestyle. We have fantastic opportunities to eat as much as we want in very good places. But most importantly, we are a people that respect each other and appreciate the need for integrity and kindness. And I just think we need to do a shout out for our state.
I love that. And I could not agree more with that. I think about 7 kind of big things: infrastructure, talent, mission critical industry, technology, lifestyle, cost of living, regulatory environment. And when you look across those 7 kind of categories, the number 1, top 5, top 10 rankings we have that goes deep, dozens, right, of top number 1, top 5 rankings in the country or the world is very long.
Agreed.
It's just absolutely amazing. Well, President Whitten, thank you for joining Innovate or Evaporate today. This was awesome. I learned a ton. I already knew a lot about Indiana University, but I definitely learned some more things that I did not know. And thank you for sharing your story, the innovative path that you're taking Indiana University on. It's awesome.
Well, thank you for having me. And the 2 most important words of any day are go Hoosiers.
Go Hoosiers. All right, you heard it here. Thank you very much for joining us on Innovate or Evaporate, and we'll see you next time.
This episode was brought to you by Rally, the Global Cross-Sector Innovation Conference. Learn more at rallyinnovation.com.